We have some huge news to go over today as an NFL insider has just dropped a bombshell Bengals trade report as we are now just a little over 24 hours away from the trade deadline. We have a huge update surrounding one of the Bengals star players. We'll break that down and discuss what it means going forward as following yesterday's loss. Not only are fans fed up with the defense, they're fed up with the coaching staff, and they're fed up with Duke Tobin. This trade report is very interesting. Things have taken a major turn. But before we get into it all, quick reminder, hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying the daily Bengals content. Yes, the Bengals are they're not playing great right now, but we're still making videos, and your guys' support has still been unbelievable. You guys have been absolute beasts. Isaac, trade deadline. It is tomorrow, and we were hoping a couple weeks ago that we'd be talking about back-to-back wins, the Jets, the Bears, they'd be buying at the deadline, getting some more defensive help, and really getting ready to go. And if you would have told me that Joe Flacco threw for almost 500 yards and they lost, I would call you crazy. But it is true, and that has led to some huge updates. And we have a trade here we'll dive into in a minute, a speculated one. But we'll start with the report that is firm. Bengals are asking for a first-round pick for any deal involving Trey Hendrickson. Now, before the game yesterday, there was a report that dropped saying as of now, the Bengals don't necessarily intend to trade Trey Hendrickson, but if they lose against the Bears, then that becomes more of a reality. And then right in news cycle fashion, as soon as they lost, reports started to drop, and the full report here is that league sources say the Bengals are still asking for a first-round pick in any deal. The trade deadline arrives in just over 28 hours, about 26 hours from now, and teams are continuing to call Cincinnati about a number of their players. For now, prices remain high. So, Isaac, this is going to be a crazy next 26, 27, 25 hours. But at the end of the day here, the biggest guy who's most likely to, and not most likely, but the biggest fish, at least maybe even in the market in general, is Trey Hendrickson. And it seems the Bengals are a lot more willing to trade him now than they were, of course, prior to the loss. And things are very, very interesting at this point.
I agree with you. I mean, you're going to be hearing this for the next 24 hours for sure.
Yeah.
He is the hot commodity because of what he's able to bring to teams that are actually in the playoff chase. Right now, the Bengals have a much slimmer chance, if you want to talk that. They do have that game against Pittsburgh, but this was an opportunity squandered. They had the Jets, they had the Bears. This was their opportunity to be buyers. It's going to be interesting, really, the next 24 hours. We're going to be watching it like a hawk because they're sticking to their guns. They don't want anything less than a first-round pick for Trey Hendrickson. They've said as much when trade talks were earlier in the year. So we're going to keep an eye on this. This is something to watch for sure.
Yeah, and even back to the offseason when there was the big debacle and prior to his one-year extension, there were trade talks. Ultimately, it didn't happen. Now, a first-round pick we'll dive into because things are interesting. Now, looking at his stats, we all know. I don't have to tell you guys how good Trey Hendrickson is and has been. I mean, back-to-back years of the exact same sack marker, 17 and a half. But Isaac, he isn't a one-year deal. Now, they do have the opportunity, which I'll let you dive into in a moment here, to franchise tag him and things like that. But Adam Schefter came out and said, why would you not trade him? And he's talking about multiple people here, including, of course, Trey Hendrickson, but also Logan Wilson. The Bengals aren't playing Logan Wilson, so I don't know why they wouldn't trade him. They could save millions and get a draft pick if they traded Trey Hendrickson as well. And we'll have another video diving into Logan Wilson. He probably is the most likely Bengal to get traded at this point prior to the deadline. Maybe throw Cam Taylor-Britt in there, depending on how things shake up. But this has fueled a ton of speculation, and it's actually pretty notable that NFL insider Adam Schefter is saying this. But this is a tweet that came out, and it's really taken over the Bengals news cycle, the of course Eagles news cycle. And I want to get your thoughts on this, Isaac, and your guys' thoughts in the comment section because it makes things interesting. They want a first round pick. I don't know if they'll be able to get that. And then the question remains, and the question everyone's begging Duke Tobin is, hey, are you going to trade him if you don't get a first, or are you just going to hold on to him and potentially lose him for nothing? An interesting trade from the Eagles here. Defensive end Trey Hendrickson for Sidney Brown, Nakobe Dean, and a second-round pick. Now, we're going to dive into it from the Bengals side of things. Obviously, the Eagles made a trade earlier this afternoon or earlier this morning. But from the Bengals side, what are your thoughts on this trade, Isaac? But also, and most importantly, if they can't get a first-round pick come this time tomorrow when there's an hour or two left before the deadline, would you want them to just franchise tag him in the offseason and figure out the rest? Or trade him for maybe a second and a third round pick and not get that first round pick value that they've been looking for?
Yeah, there's a lot of scenarios. I mean, that sounds more likely from other franchises. When it comes to the Bengals, they really like Hendrickson. So that's why they're sticking to their guns with that first round pick. Personally, I think they're going to probably just play out the rest of the year. Let Hendrickson kind of get his stock value back up. He has that hip injury. That kind of made it go down more. He wasn't getting a first round return when he was healthy, when he was regarded as one of the best ends, and still is, but that injury, it's always going to kind of make things a little more complicated. So I see them going that route, what you mentioned, going the franchise tag next year, seeing if they could get that first round. I think they're very stubborn when it comes to these kinds of trades. At the same time, they could see someone like Indy. Maybe Indy comes in because of that loss coming off of Pittsburgh. They think they're a playoff, and they certainly are. Their record shows they are. They get that piece like Hendrickson. Maybe they change their mind. I could see that type of scenario also happening. That's why this is actually going to be kind of an exciting 24 hours. Remains to be seen what's going to happen. But if it was up to me, if my personal thought, I would say just give it another year. Wait for franchise tag, because at the very worst, you got Trey Hendrickson for one more year.
Yeah, and then you'd have Joe Burrow. Maybe they can make a playoff run next year when he's healthy. I don't disagree with you. This deal in particular, I don't know if the Eagles are necessarily the most likely team to get Hendrickson, but this is a good framework for a deal, because this is what it would probably actually be a realistic trade package. It's not a first round pick, but it's a second and a couple players that can still help them. Now, Sidney Brown, I believe, is Chase Brown's twin, but he's not the best, safety. And they just acquired, of course, or not the Eagles, but the Eagles just acquired another player as well this morning. But Nakobe Dean, an interesting linebacker, right? Someone who's serviceable. And then you're getting a second round pick. So yes, you're not getting the first round pick value that obviously Duke Tobin wants, but at the same time, you get something back. So I think if a trade is to go down, it'll be more a framework like this. And you mentioned it, maybe in a Colts equivalent to this framework, whatever that would be, with the players in a second round pick rather than a first. But it is interesting. And then, of course, for Logan Wilson, we'll have a full video covering it. I don't see a world where he stays past this deadline. Now, if his value is nothing, then maybe they keep him, because at this point, I wouldn't want them to give him up for nothing. He's still a serviceable player who, whether you like him or hate him, I think he has some value around the league. But it makes things very interesting, because I want to get your thoughts on this. Obviously, I did the post game yesterday, and obviously you weren't in that video, but we both watched the game. He had an unbelievable game, and the fact that this is even where it is now is sickening. I had a video earlier today on the Chase Brown stuff and him calling out the defense, Joe Flacco calling out, not Joe Flacco, he would never, Jamar Chase calling out the coaching staff. What do you take of just the way that this season is going to finish up here over the next few weeks? Now, there's still a lot of football left, but you have a great offense. Zach Taylor, for as much flack as he gets, no pun intended, but as much flack as he gets, a very good offensive year this year. It's been really, really good. The defense is terrible, and Joe Flacco is having an unbelievable time with the Bengals, and they can't win a game against mid teams because of their worst in the NFL defense. Some of the worst, I think, historically ever.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, right? That we had so much drama to start the year with Hendrickson trade talks and guys now demanding trade. It just feels like we're in a reality show with all these drama and trade talks. And it's just going to continue, I think, until they start winning games. And the performance they put on Sunday against the Bears is not instilling a lot of confidence in the fan base. I mean, you can't beat the Jets, the worst team in the NFL, who didn't have a win up to that point. It's not going to instill confidence, but then you go out to the Bears and you almost did the same exact thing to the Bears what the Jets did, win by 1 point, and you squandered that too. So it's so much drama. There's so much of a little hope if they can come out, because again, I go back to that Pittsburgh game. It's almost like your Super Bowl, because it is a division game. They are 2-0 still in this division. People might forget that. If you somehow string together some wins, I'm not going to sit here and say they have a playoff chance now, but you can make it interesting. You could certainly pull up that drama again, because you get some more division wins stringing together. Who knows? I mean, you're at least going to make the rest of the division a little nervous as well with the talent they have on offense. Like you said, it's just crazy they're not able to finish off these games. I mean, Joe Flacco is filling in more than I think anyone could have predicted for Joe Burrow. I mean, these are like Joe Burrow numbers, what you're seeing. This is just absolutely insane.
Barely thrown any interceptions. I think had his first interception with the Bengals last game yesterday. But yeah, it's bad. It's but you mentioned it. Football's weird, man. They can easily come back, and not easily, it would take some work, but put themselves into an interesting race. A lot of it depends on the Ravens. A lot of it depends on the Steelers, who won yesterday. But crazy that yesterday they somehow onside kick, everything worked out. They come down, they get the touchdown, T. Higgins, and they come back out, and in typical Bengals fashion, they blow the game. And the worst part is that this defense was really bad, but not historically bad, or the worst in the NFL bad, they would probably be in a playoff spot. Let us know down below what your thoughts are. Let us rather know down below what your thoughts are on this and the Trey Hendrickson news. Do you want to see them trade? If so, who and when do you want, or who rather do you want to see them traded for?